Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Anne and today I'm going to show you the books I bought in the first 3 months of 2020. It's my winter book haul. If you're hearing noises on the background, my guinea pigs are being quite active right now, so they're drinking, eating hay, so that's what that is. Anyway, first I wanted to show you the spread I made in my bullet journal at the start of the year. I decided I wanted to know how many unread books I had. It turns out at the 1st of January I had 90 unread books and I wrote them all down in my bullet journal, and I wrote little boxes before them so that I could color them in when I had read one of the books. That works very well for me. If I can color something in, I'm more likely to do it. I also decided to track all of the new books I bought this year, so here I've got my 2020 editions. So I've been reading quite a lot this year. I'm 5 books ahead on my Goodreads reading challenge. I want to read 50 books and I have read 17 books now, I think. 11 of which were from my physical TBR. And I've also bought 11 new books. So I've made no progress whatsoever on making sure my TBR becomes smaller. But I've had a lot of fun reading, so that's what it's all about in the end. Anyway, like I said, I've got 11 books that I bought in the first 3 months of this year. And I figured I'd show them to you, because it turns out I really like filming book hauls. So the first book I bought this year was Het Achterhuis by Anne Frank. Most of you will probably know this as The Diary of a Young Girl, I think it's called in English. But this is Anne Frank's or Anne Frank's diary. I think it might just be the most famous Dutch book that's out there. But I'm ashamed to say that I, as a Dutch person, have not read it. It's one of the books that's on my 10 books I want to read in 2020 list. And I haven't read it yet, but I've still got 9 months to go. So I had to do some maths there. So I've still got plenty of time. I think I started reading it when I was a child once, but it was a bit too difficult or a bit too hard to understand the full grasp of it. So I never really finished it. But I think we all know what this is about, so I don't have to explain it. But I'm glad I now own a copy of it. The next book I bought is The Sandman Volume 2, The Doll's House. Me and my boyfriend own a couple of the Sandman graphic novels, but we didn't own number 2, so I'd read number 1 and then I think we have 3, 6 and 8 or something. And my boyfriend said you can read them out of order perfectly fine, but I don't like reading things out of order, so I really wanted to buy volume 2 as well. So when our local bookstore had it, we decided to pick it up. I haven't read it yet. I think I want to read volume 1 first again, but I am looking forward to continuing this series. This is a graphic novel series by Neil Gaiman. I find it a little bit hard to describe what it's about, but it's a fantasy graphic novel series. And if that sounds interesting to you, I'd say look it up. Then I bought Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Oseman. This is a very popular graphic novel series on BookTube and in the book community in general. It's about Charlie and Nick who fall in love with each other and who navigate being gay or bi in high school and having to come out to friends and family and things like that. And this is the 3rd installment in the series, and it follows them on a school trip to Paris. I have already read this. I gave it 5 stars because I absolutely love this series and I thoroughly enjoyed this as well. It made me feel very happy and warm inside, and it's just very sweet, and it handles things like coming out and also mental illness and things like that very well, I think. So I definitely recommend this series, especially if you're looking for something safe and warm and comforting to read in this strange time. So me and my friend found out that our local bookstore is now having a permanent sale type of thing, where if you buy 3 English books you get 20% off, I think, and if you buy 2 English books you get 10% off. So of course we immediately went to our bookstore to buy some books, and I picked up 3 of them. Here they are. First I picked up One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus, I'm not sure. I've seen this around in the book community a lot and everyone seems to be raving about it. I think it's a kind of mystery thriller type thing, but a YA one, and it's about a group of people: a geek, a jock, a criminal, a princess, it says here, a murder, and I guess you get to find out who committed the murder. I'm not sure. I don't really know much about what this is about. I just know that everybody loves it, and I figured it would be fun to try something new or new-ish, because I don't read many young adult thrillers. I really love the Truly Devious series, which I just finished in March, and I thought maybe this would be similar, or I'd like this as well. So that's why I picked it up. Then I bought another book that I've been seeing around in the book community a lot, and that is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I hope I said that right. I saw this on Ariel Bissette's channel first, I think. That might be wrong, but I think I remember that correctly. I think this is a type of magical realism sort of story where there is a cafe that makes you travel back in time. I actually don't know much about this. I just know that when I saw people talking about it in their videos and on their blogs, it sounded really cool. Apparently I'm very bad at remembering what books are about. I just remember they sounded nice. So I'm excited to read this. It's quite short as well. I had hoped to add this to my OWLS TBR for the Magical Readathon, but it didn't fit with any of the prompts I was going for. But hopefully I'll get to it soon anyway. And then the last book I picked up during that shopping trip is The Strawberry Thief by Joanne Harris. This is the 4th book in the Chocolat series. I read the first book, Chocolat, a long time ago, along with the second book, The Lollipop Shoes. And then a few years ago I became aware of a third book being out, Peaches for Monsieur le Curé, I think it's called. And now apparently there's a 4th book, so I picked it up because I love this series. It is about a woman, Vian is her name, I think, and she has special abilities when it comes to making sweets, making chocolates for people. She knows what to give them based on their emotions. That sounds very vague, but it also has a magical feel to it, and she always gets herself and her daughters in trouble. That sounds worse than it is, but people kind of hate her because of her ethereal qualities and her magical feel, I guess. People realize that there's something different about her, and that always gets her in trouble, but she also makes very good friends. These books are really wonderful. I'm not doing a very good job explaining them, but it's about food and love and community and being kind to one another, I guess. I have actually ordered the second book because I own this one now. I own the first one. I got that secondhand from a friend a few years ago, and I own the third one. But I don't own the second book, and I really want to reread this entire series before I get to the 4th book, because it's been a long time. The next book I bought is another graphic novel, and that's Glass Town by Isabel Greenberg. This is a book that's based on the lives of the Bronte siblings, so Charlotte, Anne, Emily and Branwell Bronte. The Bronte siblings used to come up with stories in their own worlds, and they had this very elaborate world where they invented new characters and new storylines, and they worked on that together. It's no wonder they're all so talented. And this book explores that. It explores that world they set up together, but it also explores their lives, mainly Charlotte's life. I have read this one already. I gave it 4 stars, I think. I had some trouble getting into it at first, but then I ended up really loving it. So if you're a fan of the Brontes, I definitely recommend picking this up. Then the last 3 books are books I ordered on Book Depository, and the first one is Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody. This is a non-fiction book about writing novels. I haven't read it yet. I don't know that much about it. I just know it sounded like a good way to get to know more about outlining a book. It's mostly about planning a book, I think. The different structures novels usually follow and what can work for your story idea, I'm not sure. I know this method was originally invented for screenwriting, but Jessica Brody has adapted it for novels. I like writing myself as well. I've recently written the first draft of a novel, and I figured before I get to restructuring that and editing that, it would be good to read a book about structuring a novel, although I guess it would have made even more sense to read this before I started writing the novel in the first place. but oh well. Then I ordered 2 books by Leigh Bardugo. They're both part of the Grisha universe, and the first one is King of Scars. This book follows Nikolai, who's a prominent character in the Grisha trilogy as well, and I finished the Grisha trilogy last month. I'm a bit late to the party, but I have now read the books. I read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom a few years ago, so I read those ones first before I read the Grisha trilogy, which is not the order most people read them in, but it worked for me, and Nikolai ended up being one of my favorite characters in the Grisha trilogy, and I'm excited to read his book, because this is his story, I think after the events of the Grisha trilogy, but I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that he's the main character. And then I also picked up The Language of Thorns, which is a short story collection that's set in the Grisha world as well. It features 6 short stories that take inspiration from myth and folklore and fairy tales. I love those things. I also really love the Grisha world. It's one of the best magic systems I've read in a long time. I really like how it's set up. It's very original, so I'm looking forward to reading these short stories. And also, I didn't know this when I ordered the book, but it's full of beautiful illustrations as well, so that's nice. And then I ordered one more book, and that is Unspeakable, edited by Celine Vroon. This is a queer gothic anthology, and Celine is a member of our bookish community as well. I've known her for a few years now via Twitter and her blog, which I don't think is active anymore, but she is still active on Twitter. And she has set up her own publishing company, and she published, I think this is the first book recently, and that is this one, Unspeakable. They're all gothic stories and queer stories. It features a bunch of different writers, I think almost 20 of them. I don't know that much about it, I just know I wanted to support Celine, and I read one of her stories a while ago and I thought it was really good, and this sounded like a lot of fun, and that's why I ordered it. I hope I'll really enjoy it. And those are all the books I bought in the first 3 months of 2020. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you've read any of these books. What did you think of them? What books did you recently buy? I'd love to chat, because I love to talk about books. Please give this video a like if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. And have a wonderful day. Bye!